Hello everyone, this is Rahul Saini. Today I am here to give you a virtual workshop on how to create lifelike characters. It is very important for me to understand, identify and define the things that I'm dealing with. And that is why what I always do is whenever I need to figure something out, I read about it, I dig about it, and then after getting to know what everyone else has to say about it, I come up with my own interpretations and definitions. So when we say what is a character? A character for me is an entity that pulls the plot forward and makes the reader feel the emotions that the author intends them to feel. Now, here it is very important to understand that any character that we design, any character that we write, it is an interpretation or our understanding of things. We may make it an antithesis of our beliefs, or it may be a thesis of our beliefs, but it is something which comes out of us. So this is why I believe that all the characters that you create are coming from everything around you. It is a manifestation of your understanding, it is a manifestation of your observations, and everything that you have seen over the years, everything has churned in your mind in a way, and then it comes out as your creative writing. I find it very important to mention this because many times what we do is we start finding characters externally. We start looking around, we start looking for inspirations and clues to help us build something. That frantic effort generally does not result into anything good. It will come to you, it will come to you on its own. It has to come from within you, and wait for it. Have faith in yourself, have faith in your sensibilities, have faith in your understanding and intelligence. Sit calmly somewhere, let your thoughts flow, let them come out on their own. Whenever you're hit with that punch of anxiety that you're not being able to do what you wanted to do and you're lagging behind and things are not turning out the way you wanted them to turn out, the thing to do is sit down, take a deep breath, relax, calm down, and just let your thoughts flow. It will happen. Things will come to you. It's all in your mind, it's all in your brain. At times it just gets clogged and you just need to give it time and clear up your thoughts, and that's how it flows. It is very important to treat your characters with respect and treat them like they are real people. You need to treat them like your family, you need to treat them like your friends. You need to understand, you need to figure out who they are, what they think, how they behave, and why they do what they do. Talk to them in your mind, have conversations with them, and talk to your friends about them, talk to your family about them. Treat them like your relatives, talk about them like real people, and then you will see they automatically start fleshing themselves out on their own. And this is how things will develop and expand, and you will have good, fleshy, real characters. Creating a character for me is more of a subtractive exercise as opposed to additive exercise. I'll explain what I mean by this. Uh, Imagine you have an ambiguous cloud of, let us say we have a cotton candy, a huge ball of cotton candy, and you want to sculpt it into something. So you will just start shaping it, start compressing it somewhere, take a chunk out and give it a shape, and then you'll finally have something. Think about how sculptors work. If I have a huge slab of marble, I'm just going to start chiseling it and I'm going to create something out of it. How clay modeling happens, you mold it, you scoop out things, you carve things, and then finally you have the end product. You start with an ambiguous abstract idea and you start shaping it up in a way to have the character that you want. You will make certain aspects of that character stronger, you will make certain aspects of that character weaker, you will chunk out some characteristics of that character as well, but on the whole it is a subtractive exercise. It is not an additive exercise. Now, by an additive exercise, what I mean is I cannot be borrowing things from here and there and start putting them together. we are not creating a Frankenstein's monster all the time. I cannot be going through pictures and saying, okay, this is one of the characters, the character looks like this. Okay, so what does he, how does he, that character walk? So I pick up someone else's walk and I say, okay, this is how the character would walk. And then what does the character think? Then I turn on my television and then I start watching a film and then I say, okay, this is how the character thinks. This will not land well. This will not let you make a good character. And why is it so? Because in your subconscious, everything is already present and you just have to filter it and develop it. Now, if you make it an internal process like that, things that come out eventually will be more substantial and will be more credible. But if you start borrowing things from here and there, and if you start putting them together, chances are that they will not result into anything very good. When you're writing a story, it's very important that your characters stand out as individuals and they don't read as the same people being repeated over and over again. And for that, you need to give them the characteristics which are different. That said, but what if I want to create two people who are actually similar? Now, for this, I will give you the example of A Comedy of Errors and The 12th Night. Both of the stories essentially had twins and essentially had people who were actually so similar, but still the traits, the way they talked, and certain details and certain nuances about them were different, that you could understand that, okay, this, now we are looking at this character, now we're looking at this character. So that confusion has to go away. You cannot have overlapping characters like that. Making your characters imperfect also adds a factor of relatability. Your readers will start rooting for your characters more because we all are aware about our own imperfections, and when we start seeing those imperfections in someone else, there's a connect that happens instantly, and that will make the reader root for your character. There's something that a lot of authors dread, and that's what we call going out of character. And it's very important for us to not cross that line and to maintain that, because if that starts to happen, your characters is behaving unnaturally and it doesn't stand properly and doesn't work properly. So this is something which is very tricky to handle, and I'm going to try to explain it to you in the best possible way. I'm going to tell you something now. I may sound like I'm digressing, but I'm really not. Just try to follow what I'm saying. So as we know that right now there's this total lockdown that's happening, and the place where I am in, we have a very tight curfew. No one can go out and no one can move around, and things are very strict here right now. You know what happens to you if you step outside your house while there's a curfew, and so people want to stay inside right now. There's a very basic behavior of men and boys as opposed to girls and women. Men always want to have very impressive and good and strong physiques, and they would work so hard to achieve that. And women will also want to be very fit, and they would also want to groom themselves in ways in which they think they look the best. Now, during this lockdown period, I am observing that a lot of people are still working out. I'm one of them. They have started these very strict working out regimes, and there are a lot of girls also who are following that, and there are so many girls who I see who would put some very nice makeup on and then click pictures and then feel very happy about it. What I'm trying to get to is, there are certain things which are external and there are certain things which are internal. Why we are doing these things right now is because these things are giving us something which is very internal, and it gives a very internal satisfaction. Right now, if someone is working out or trying to get into shape, it's not because they want to show it to someone. It's because it is giving them a sense of confidence. It is making them feel good about themselves. If someone is putting on a lot of makeup and then looking very pretty and then clicking pictures, they're not doing it because people are going to see them now. It'll just make them feel very good, and that's how they want to be at home right now. That said, it is not something which is completely internal, because these standards of good looks and these standards of impressiveness have been set by the world outside. and we are following that. So something external, we are following something external to achieve something which is very internal. Now I'm explaining this thought process because I want you to understand that this is how you need to understand the psychology of your characters to come in. It's very important to understand that we all are people, we all are characters, and we will always have our boundaries which we will cross at some point of time or the other, and this is what stories are made of. Taking the simple example of Ramayana, Sita was this wife who worshipped her husband, who never disobeyed him, who followed her no matter where he went, and she was very obedient. She would obey her husband's brother, she would never disobey or displease anyone. But once, when a line was drawn and she was told that don't cross this line no matter what, she did. And then hell broke loose. Now just imagine. Now that was something which was very out of character for her. Like, it was very out of character to not obey someone, to just disregard what she was told and then just do what she felt like doing. But she did that. So don't be afraid to let your characters go out of character, because that is what most of the times gives you a story. In order to explain the process of character building, I'll pick up the examples of two of my books, and then I'll explain how I built the characters in those two books of mine. The other set of characters that I would like to talk about is from this book called Paperback Greens. Now, now this is a book which is very dear to me because I've tried to say a lot in this book, and this was quite a groundbreaking book for me, and so much so that the ground that it broke and the chasms that it created, I fell in them, and and it took me 5 long years to get out of them. But jokes apart, when I started writing this book, I just knew that I had 3 very different characters, and it was a story which was set up in the publishing industry. It was about authors and publishers and their relationships with the readers and amongst themselves. What I tried to explore with this book was that what if there were 3 different people who were writing for 3 very different reasons? One person was writing because he was so upset and unsettled with the world all around him. All he wanted to do was to create a change in the world with his writing. And that was the only reason, the only drive that he had, which pushed him to write. Then there's this other character who has not written anything yet, but he's observing all these big hotshot authors very closely, and he wants to become rich and famous one day, and he's working on his way through. Now it's interesting to mention that this very character kind of stayed in my mind and grew and transformed, and when I sat down to write Love to Hurt You, this very character only extended itself and penetrated into that story and and became the kind of monster he finally did. So what I'm saying is that a writer also needs to be open-minded enough to let their characters grow in their mind and develop and evolve in whichever way they intend to, and then let them flow in their other stories and let them penetrate and enter the other stories as well. It only makes the stories richer, I believe. Now, how all these characters, how their lives intertwine and how they cross paths and how they deal with the publishing industry and how the publishing industry treats them and reacts to them, and how what happens to them after that is actually the poetic justice ever delivered in truer or realistic setups. These were the kind of questions I was trying to address with. So again, 3 very distinct characters put together and then put in one particular setup, and then how they behave and how they act in that particular setup is what gave birth to this book. To sum it all up, what I would say is that just like everything else in life, creating characters is not that easy, but it's not that difficult either. They're all in your head, you just need to identify them, listen to them, and bring them out. On this note, I'd like to end this workshop. Thank you for watching this video, guys. I hope it was helpful, and if you have any questions, feel free to get in touch with me on Instagram or YouTube. So if you want to get in touch with me, you know where to find me.